My hunch here is that coaches think Iowa's fraudulent. Coaches see an Iowa team that offensively does not intimidate maybe a lot of defenses. And I understand the coaches poll is sometimes the SID poll. We can be honest about this. But I lean a little bit more with the AP on this one. I go higher on Iowa as opposed to lower with the coaches.
As somebody who has bet – sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you know what team is ranked 125th in the country in yards per play on offense?
Is it Iowa?
It's Iowa. That's the 5th best team in the country. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking away anything from their wins over Indiana and Iowa State. So from a resume perspective, considering Indiana was ranked 17th, I think, to start the season, and Iowa was ranked, 9th or 10th last week when Iowa beat it, I get why people are kind of putting it where it was. I think in my Super 16 poll, I had them 10th. So I understand it. It's just that's not the 5th best team in the country, man. That offensively, that team is way too limited.
They beat Iowa State by 10 points. They had 23.3 points of turnover luck in that game. On a down-to-down basis, Iowa State was absolutely the better team. Now, look, Iowa deserved to win because Iowa State didn't take care of the football. That's the narrative you're going to paint if you're not one of these turnovers is luck guys. And I can get with that, right? Because Iowa kind of played its game. But its game is really limited, guys. This offense sucks. 2.7 yards a play compared to 5.4, I think, before garbage time for Iowa State. And I know Iowa State had a little bit of stuff in garbage time, so it is important to filter that out like we talked about on the instant reaction. This is not a top 10 quality football team to me based on how it's played. It has beaten 2 teams that we talked about all summer were overrated as hell in Indiana and Iowa State. And I bet on Iowa both weeks, so I'm not hating on Iowa. I'm really happy they cashed for me. This offense is way too limiting. This is not a top 10 quality team if that doesn't get fixed a lot.
Yeah, and you just touched on it. Indiana fans, you'll be thrilled to hear this coming out of my mouth about a team that's not you. Do you know who currently leads the nation in points off turnover margin through 2 weeks?
By a huge margin, right?
Iowa, 37. They are plus 37 on turnovers through 2 games. That is not sustainable.
I got a question. Does winning matter? Does winning matter? Does who you
matters
beat
in
matter?
the game, but if you're projecting forward, if you're evaluating team quality, how you actually played on the field should matter more than what the scoreboard said.
But
Absolutely.
This is big, dumb college football. I'm warning you, you're going to be mad about Iowa. You're going to be mad about Iowa as they continue to win and be ranked higher and higher. Danny, I'm with you. I think winning matters. I'm fine with Iowa at 5.
Do you know who loves Iowa at 5? Ohio State.
Yes.
Because that's a big part of their path to getting back in the playoff.
Yeah.
Great.
And don't get me wrong. I think Iowa could very easily be the best team in the West right now, and I think it could win the division. I just think that it needs to improve on offense. And when I look at the rankings, again, I get it this early in the year with 2 wins over teams that were ranked and, Ohio State losing, Clemson losing. It's going to vault some teams up in the poll that probably aren't going to be there at the end of the season. So I understand. But
what year was it? 2015 when they made it to the Big Ten championship game and lost to Michigan State, on the goal line. Mm-hmm. And then Michigan State went on and got smoked by Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
People lost their minds then. I remember getting into it with Rosillo. I was on the radio show and arguing with him because he's like, they're not that good. I'm like, if they're not that good, someone will beat them. So that's my you should put them if you want to ask me who do I think is going to win the Big Ten, then yeah, I'll give you another answer. But if you want to ask me who should be ranked today based on what we've seen so far, their wins are up there with as anybody in the country. You can make a case for them. So it's that whole balance of, do we think they're good now? Are they the prettiest looking team? And it'll probably be like last year with Indiana. Remember we get in there Indiana, look at the turnover margin. Look how many points they're scoring somehow. They still did get 2 pick sixes against Indiana. Iowa did. So I'm always you put them where they deserve to be ranked now. And if they're not good, if it's not pretty, somebody will beat them.
Then
Danny,
you drop. Did you bet Iowa State with me?
What's that?
You bet Iowa over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
No, did you have Iowa State?
No, he bet Iowa State.
I bet Iowa State. But
Danny, you had the right side. If I had to do this all over again, I would bet Iowa State -4 based on how that game was played. Because turnovers have a huge luck component. Moving the ball, much less so. I had the wrong side in that game and I won. If we're talking, this is a fundamental issue though. Are you ranking people based on their wins and sort of resume ranking, or are you ranking them based on how they've actually played? Because there are certainly teams that have played better than Iowa who have a loss right now who I would have over Iowa. Iowa has not played very well. We know turnovers have a huge luck component. Otherwise, Bama would lead the nation in turnover margin, turnover return for touchdowns, all that stuff every single year, and they don't. They lead the nation in like yards per play margin and things that are actually controllable and sustainable, not luck.
When you're talking about resume metrics versus predictive metrics, which will
Yeah.
be something that we argue for the entire season. So,
Right. And it's just a difference of opinion. Like if that's how you want to do the poll, that's fine. I just
but
I would take Iowa State over Iowa right now.
I
if they
think
played
that
today.
we have a balance of that among 64 voters. There's some like everyone's going to have their own percentage of that. I'm glad that this is are you ready? Got something else on Iowa?
Yeah, well, first of all, you mentioned the 64 voters. I wanted to send a quick shout out to the voter who accidentally voted for Arizona over Arizona State. But the other thing is like this is setting up because you mentioned it, but like how this is huge for Ohio State that Iowa's ranked 5th, because I think it's huge for the Big Ten too, in the fact that Iowa should probably win its next 2 games against Kent State and Colorado State. So it'll probably stay in the top 5 for a while. And then you've got a Penn State team that's currently at 10 who gets Auburn this weekend, and if they beat Auburn, that could probably bump them up. And then if they beat Villanova and Indiana, we're suddenly looking at Penn State at Iowa on October 9th in what could be like a top 5, top 6 matchup, and it doesn't involve Ohio State. So I think that could be good for the Big Ten overall too.